If you work out at home like me, you know one of the hardest things to work out is your legs. And one of the best exercises you can do for your legs is the squat. Now I know what you're thinking. The only way to really get a good squat at home is by having a squat rack with a bar. Now that is a good way, but it's not the only way. Matter of fact, I know I have something better than using a squat rack. Now there are many ways that you can squat at home, and some are better than others. So we're gonna go from worst to best and list the pros and cons of each way. So let's begin with the first one. So at the bottom of the list is going to be using resistance bands, the tube style with a door anchor. Now when I say squats with a tube band and a door anchor, this requires putting the door anchor at the bottom, getting the resistance bands over your shoulders, you're leaning forward and you're squatting. Now the pros of this is that it really focuses on the quads and you can increase resistance in increments. It's really good for people at that beginner level. And another good pro is that it's not really that expensive. Now the cons, some are pretty obvious. It's going to be very difficult to get high resistance with the tube style bands. The more resistance that you get, it's really going to put a lot of pressure on your spine. So you have to lean forward and you're not in a very centered position when it comes to doing the squat. And that's really going to be bad for your back over time. Now it's something that you can do if you're just starting out or if you have no option, because this option is better than no option. It would be pretty good for that. Next, we have the loop bands. This is a completely circular resistance band. They're very inexpensive, and the way you set this up is you go ahead and you put it around your shoulders, then you put your feet together and you squat down. And the good thing about this is that you can really get a pretty good, decent resistance when it comes to the loop bands, because usually they're thicker and they're a little bit shorter, so they give you a lot more resistance. Another good thing about it is it gets you out of that incline position where you're in that bad back position, where you have that center of gravity when it comes to the band. But the cons are this. This is usually how the resistance goes on a loop style band. Really heavy or not heavy enough. You're not getting the resistance that you actually want. It's very hard to progress over time. You're usually stuck with that one resistance for a while, and which is going to require you to do higher repetitions. And higher repetitions without increasing the resistance is going to turn more so into a cardio workout than a muscle building workout. Another con is that because of the length of the band and how tall you are, your position of your feet may be a bit narrow. And with that, it doesn't really put your feet in a good position to really focus on all those muscles. You really want to make sure that you're in a shoulder width stand, but a lot of times with the loop bands, because of how short they are or how tall you are, is that you have to keep those feet a little bit narrow. So because of that, you really can't be as effective with this exercise. Oh, and I forgot. If you don't really have a lot of upper body strength, it may be hard just getting it set up to get it around your shoulders. And as you see, it's kind of awkward when you put it on every time. And a lot of people aren't comfortable with that. But the great news is that if you're a person who doesn't want to spend a lot of money and you really enjoy using the resistance bands because you don't want to have all the noise of weights and stuff around, I do have a better option. And that next way that you can do squats better at home is going to be loop bands with a foot plate. So with this option, you'll be able to get 2 loop bands of equal size and you can put them on a foot plate in between the grooves on the side. And so this makes it so that we get that really good resistance. We can keep our back parallel. And the other benefit is that we don't have that limitation of where to put our foot position to get into the best position to do the squat. Because the bands are onto the plate itself, it's not limited by how short or how tall you are. Now the one you're seeing in the video is by a company called Clench Fitness. I'll make sure I leave a link for you if you're interested in that option, but this gives you a good middle ground if you want to have high resistance and you want to make sure that you do the squat in perfect form, because perfect form is the key to really developing those legs. Now there are some cons, and this con is kind of like how we had with just the loop band. It does require a little upper body strength if you're trying to get those on. It's not as awkward of just having the loop band, but if you're very weak in your upper body, you may find that challenging. And in addition, there is extra cost when it comes to the foot plate. It's not as expensive as some other options, but it is the best option that I found in most people's price range instead of going astronomical. So next we have the method that most people is their go-to, but not everybody can do it. And you know what that is. That's gonna be a squat rack. Mostly it's in a garage. You'll be able to add weights to it. It'll have a safety cage or something like that to help it so it catches it. If it's too heavy for you, you'll be able to add on more weight and off weight. And the benefits are pretty clear. This is the best to mimic the squat of how you can do in the gym. You're able to load more and more weight in increments. You can put your feet in a good position, and it pretty much checks all the boxes. So now you're saying to yourself, this isn't the best option? That's right, because there's some cons. So let's list them. Number one, it's pretty expensive. There are a lot of options out there, and they can range from hundreds of dollars to thousands of dollars. And the thing is, when it comes to your safety, you don't want to go cheap on this. You want something that's going to be very sturdy, very thick metal that it can hold. Even though there may be some options that are like $400 or so, I wouldn't trust that. And then another con is going to be the space. If you're a person who likes to actually use your garage and put your car in the garage, well, that's going to be over if you get a squat rack, especially a cheaper one. Now, they have ones out there that can fold. I think one's called like PRX or something like that, where they can fold up, but those are going to be a bit more expensive. It's going to add to that extra cost. So you're saying, why don't I just get one of these? Yes, you can do that, but you still got another con. Well, these type of things, you can really only set them up in the garage. And in the garage, most garages aren't temperature controlled. So if it's really cold, if you live somewhere out into the Midwest or something like that, and you have really cold weather like Minnesota, that can be an issue for you actually being able to get your workout in. Or if you're in hot Atlanta like myself, it can get really, really hot in the spring and the summer, and you may not want to go and do your workout then. Now, if you're a savage like that, I mean, that's what I'm all about, okay? Go ahead and get your workout in. But sometimes the weather can affect if you're gonna work out that day or not. And the last con is that when you're doing it by yourself, you kind of really need a spotter, because yes, some of them have some things that where it can kind of catch it if you fall down or something like that. But I've seen a bunch of gym fail videos on the internet of people using these squat racks, and they're not able to handle when people load up a lot of weight, or they forget to put on the little safety bars on the side. So you want to watch out for that. Now, finally, we're at the best option. This is going to be the most beneficial, that checks all the marks when it comes to being able to do a great squat exercise at home. And that's going to be an all-in-one smart gym. So what is an all-in-one smart gym? Well, a lot of them work this way. They have a series of cables where you can hook up bars and stuff like that. And instead of having weights or resistance bands or anything like that, it uses magnetic pulls where you can go ahead and add resistance like that. The great thing about this, the most beneficial part of this, is that it really is the safest option. And why is it so safe? It's because it's connected and smart. So the one that I use is by Expedience Gym Monster. And the way that that works is that it has like a ring that you can put on your finger, and you hit a button when you want the resistance to come on, and you hit it again when you want the resistance to come off. So you can get yourself in position. Unlike a lot of times with the weights, you got to put the weights on first. So this, you have extremely loose resistance. And then once you're ready and you're set and you're in that perfect position, you just hit that little button on the ring, and the resistance comes on, and you're like, oh, here it is. And it can go all the way up past 200 pounds. So it takes care of getting really good resistance. Also, because you have the bar and the cables, you can put your feet in any position. You can go ahead and have your back aligned. And the other things we talked about, you don't have to worry about weather because it's indoors. So you've got no excuse to work out your legs. The reason why I like to use the Gym Monster by Expedience is because it actually folds up. There's some other options out there like tonal, but the thing is it requires professional installation. It has to be put in the wall and it's more money than that. So this option here makes it so that you can get all the boxes checked when it comes to getting a great squat in the comfort of your own home. As far as cons, there is a learning curve to the tech. It can be a little expensive for some people, but it's actually cheaper than all the most popular brands of the all-in-one smart gym. Now, this thing is not only great just for squats, it's great for a lot of other exercises. And if you want to see what those other exercises are, or you want to see a review of this all-in-one device, go ahead and click this video next, because I made a great review just to show you what you can do with this machine.